Welcome to You Certify CompTIA A+ Must-Know Glossary Terms.
Part 2. Term. Port forwarding. Definition. The routing inbound traffic to local addresses based on the destination port. For example, all traffic addressed to TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, port 80, can be sent to the company's web server, while traffic addressed to ports 2021 is forwarded to the FTP server.
Term. Post. Power on self-test. Definition. An operation initiated by a computer after it has been turned on, but before it boots up the OS.
Term. Printhead alignment. Definition. A calibration process that ensures a printer's printhead is properly adjusted for accurate output, usually performed via software or a printer utility.
Term. PRL. Preferred roaming list. Definition. The reference guide the phone uses to connect to the proper cell phone tower when roaming. Term. Proxy server. Definition. A server that intercepts and mediates communications between internal and external hosts on the network. Term. PS2. Personal System 2. Definition. A 6-pin interface is used to connect older keyboards and pointing devices to a computer. Term. PSU. Power Supply Unit. Definition. A unit that reduces and regulates wall AC power down to the specific low-voltage DC power required by each computer component. Term. QoS. Quality of service. Definition. Overall connection quality as seen by users of the network, especially as connected to some expected baseline. Generally includes performance, reliability, and availability. Term. RDC. Remote Desktop Connection. Definition. A client application that connects you to the desktop of a remote computer, controlling it as though you were physically there. Term. Refresh rate. Definition. A measurement of how often a display image is updated per second. It is expressed in Hertz, Hz. Term. Remote assistance. Definition. A remote desktop application used for remote technical assistance connections, for example, to let you access a coworker's system and help directly. Term. Repeater. Definition. A physical network device that cleans and amplifies a signal. Term. Resistive technology. Definition. A touchscreen technology that uses 2 layers, a layer of glass and a conductive and resistive metal layer, with an electrical current running between them. The 2 layers are separated by spacers. When you touch the screen, the pressure on the screen makes the layers touch, and there is a change in electrical current in that spot. Term. Screen inverter. Definition. A small circuit board is attached to the display screen of a laptop computer. The inverter takes direct current from the motherboard and converts it into alternating current, which is the electrical current used to control the pixels and generate the images on the screen. Term. SIM. Subscriber Identity Module. Definition. A small memory chip that stores user account information, phone identification, and security data, and it is generally tied to a specific carrier. Term. SLA. Service Level Agreement. Definition. A formal commitment that defines the expected level of service, such as uptime, between a provider and a customer. Term. SOPs. Standard Operating Procedures. Definition. A defined set of standard operating procedures that outline the specific steps required to carry out a process, derived from a policy. Term. Spam. Definition. The unsolicited emails or other electronic messages with undesired or malicious content. Term. Spear phishing. Definition. A variant of phishing that targets specific people, such as members of an organization or even individual users. Term. SSH. Secure Shell. Definition. Encrypted replacement for Telnet and FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Includes SCP, Secure Copy Protocol, and SFTP, Secure Shell FTP. Term. SSID, Service Set Identifier. Definition. In a Wi-Fi access point, a string of up to 32 octets can be used to uniquely identify it to clients. Term. SSL, Secure Sockets Layer.
Definition: the standard security technology for establishing an encrypted link between a web server and a browser. This link ensures that all data passed between the web server and browsers remains private and integral. Term: System Restore. Definition: a Windows recovery tool that saves and restores system files and settings, allowing recovery from system problems or accidental harmful changes. Term: Thermal printer. Definition: a printer that uses heat to create images on paper. Term: Thunderbolt. Definition: an Apple technology developed to replace FireWire. It combines PCIe, Peripheral Component Interconnect Express, and DisplayPort into one serial bus, allowing it to transmit and receive data, video, audio, network data, and power. Term: Time machine. Definition: an OS X application that provides automated file backups. Term: TKIP, Temporal Key Integrity Protocol. Definition: an encryption protocol included as part of the IEEE 802.11i standard for WLANs, wireless local area networks, designed to provide more secure encryption than the notoriously weak WEP, Wired Equivalent Privacy, the original WAN security protocol. Term: Toner probe. Definition: a connectivity testing tool that can be used to trace and identify a wire along its entire length. Term: TPM, Trusted Platform Module. Definition: a microchip installed on the motherboard of desktop and portable computers, which stores critical encryption keys in hardware inaccessible to the operating system or most attackers. Term: Tracert. Definition: a command line tool allowing verification of the path a network packet travels to its destination. Term: Trojan horse. Definition: a type of malware that appears to be a harmless or useful program, like a game or even an antivirus application. Term: UDP, User Datagram Protocol. Definition: part of the Internet Protocol Suite used by programs running on different computers on a network, used to send short messages called datagrams. Overall, it is an unreliable, connectionless protocol. Term: UPnP, Universal Plug and Play. Definition: a set of networking protocols that permits networked devices, such as personal computers, printers, internet gateways, Wi-Fi access points, and mobile devices, to seamlessly discover each other's presence on the network and establish functional network services for data sharing, communications, and entertainment. Term: USB, Universal Bus System. Definition: a common interface that enables communication between devices and a host controller, such as a PC, connects peripheral devices such as digital cameras, mice, keyboards, printers, scanners, media devices, external hard drives, and flash drives. Term: VGA, Video Graphics Array. Definition: an older standard used to connect a display device to your computer. VGA and its associated evolutionary standards, such as SVGA, Super Video Graphics Array, are analog standards. Term: Virtual Desktop. Definition: a computer operating system that does not run directly on the endpoint hardware from which a user accesses it. Virtual desktops are accessible through client software installed directly on an endpoint, which presents the desktop to the user and allows them to interact with it. Term: Virtual Sandbox. Definition: a type of software testing environment that enables the isolated execution of software or programs for independent evaluation, monitoring, or testing. It may be known as a test server, development server, or working directory. Term: VM, Virtual Machine. Definition: an OS or operating system or application environment that is installed on software, which imitates dedicated hardware. The end user has the same experience on a virtual machine as they would have on dedicated hardware. Term: VNC, Virtual Network Computing. Definition: a remote control technology that enables desktop sharing, typically operating on TCP port 5900. Term: VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. Definition: a category of hardware and software that enables people to use the internet as the transmission medium for telephone calls by sending voice data in packets using IP, rather than by traditional circuit transmissions of the PSTN, Public Switched Telephone Network. Term: VPN, Virtual Private Network. Definition: a remote access technology that securely extends a private network across the internet or other public networks. Term: WAN, Wide Area Network. Definition: a network that extends over a very large area, with nodes in multiple cities or countries. Term: Windows Update. Definition: a tool used to manage updates and patches to the operating system and select installed applications. Term: Zone File. Definition: a DNS database that stores records mapping hostnames to their corresponding IP addresses. Term: .app files. Definition: in macOS, the application bundle files that contain all the files and folders that make up the application. Term: .bat script files. Definition: .bat files are script files that are strictly Windows-based. They are text files that contain commands or instructions for the command line interpreter to execute. Term: .dmg files. Definition: disk image files in the macOS, similar to ISO files in Windows. Term: .js script files. Definition: JavaScript is a programming language that has many uses today. It is valuable for creating scripts because it can be run on any operating system. It is usually written into web pages to create client interactions. JavaScript is read by the browser. Creating and running command-line JavaScript requires installing Node.js. Term: .pkg files. Definition: in macOS, these are compressed application files. Term: .ps1 script files. Definition: Windows PowerShell is a tool to help technicians and network administrators automate support functions through the use of scripts and snippets. Windows 10 and 11 ship with PowerShell. Term: .py script files. Definition: Python is often a good choice for those beginning to learn programming. It is relatively easy to learn, and Python scripts can run on most operating systems. For example, Windows Shell is known as Python Interactive Shell. Term: .sh script files. Definition: a shell script is a text file that contains a sequence of commands for a Linux or Unix-based system. Shell scripts might not run correctly on a Windows system. Linux has had several shells. Bash, born-again shell, is the most common of them. Term: .vbs script files. Definition: VBScript, a scripting language developed by Microsoft, is considered a subset of the Visual Basic programming language. It was designed specifically for use with Microsoft Internet Explorer and gives web pages a level of interactivity. Term: 3-2-1 backup rule. Definition: the 3-2-1 backup rule/scheme is an easy way to define the practice of keeping 3, 1 primary plus 2 backup copies of data, 2, 2 methods of storage for the data, for example, local and cloud, 1, 1 local backup off-site in case of fire or storm damage to a facility. Term: 3D printer. Definition: commonly known as additive manufacturing, or AM, a 3D printer comes in 2 flavors: fused deposition modeling, or FDM, which is 3D printing in a tabletop environment, and stereolithography, or SLA, which is a newer 3D tabletop process that involves photopolymer resins and lasers. The most common material used with 3D printers is a strand of plastic filament that is fed from a spool to a moving printer head. The printer head heats the plastic and thinly layers it on the printing platform in cross-sections that eventually build up into the 3D object that has been designed on the computer. Term: 802.11a. Definition: a wireless Ethernet standard that uses 5 GHz radio signals and provides performance at rates from 6 megabits per second up to 54 megabits per second. It is not compatible with other 802.11-based wireless networks unless dual-band access points are used. Term: 8202.11ac, Wi-Fi 5. Definition: a wireless Ethernet standard that uses 5 GHz radio signaling for performance up to 1300 megabits per second. It uses MU-MIMO antenna technology. Term 802.11.AX, Wi-Fi 6. Definition: a wireless Ethernet standard that uses both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz bands, with increased speeds up to 9.6 gigabits per second. Wi-Fi 6E improves upon Wi-Fi 6 by supporting the 6 GHz band. Term 802.11b. Definition: a wireless Ethernet standard that uses 2.4 GHz radio signaling for performance from 2 megabits to 11 megabits. It is compatible with 802.11g based wireless networks, but not with 802.11a based networks unless dual band access points are used. Term 802.11g. Definition: a wireless Ethernet standard that uses 2.4 GHz radio signaling for performance up to 54 megabits per second. It is compatible with 802.11b based wireless networks, but not with 802.11a based networks unless dual band access points are used. Term 802.11n, Wi-Fi 4. Definition: a wireless Ethernet standard that uses 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz radio signaling for performance up to 600 megabits per second. It uses MIMO antenna technology. Term command name /?. Definition: a Windows command that displays help for the specified command. Term acceptable use policy, AUP. Definition: a company's policy for employees that pertains to user safety, security procedures, and computer best practices within a company. The policy is designed to keep the network safe. Term access control list, ACL. Definition: a list of permissions or restriction rules for access to an object, such as a file or folder. Term access control vestibule. Definition: formerly known as a man-trap, an access control vestibule is an area with 2 locking doors that is used to enforce physical security and monitor for unauthorized access to a building entrance. Term Active Directory. Definition: a Microsoft solution for managing users, computers, and information access in a network. Term Ad blocker. Definition: a tool that integrates with a web browser and uses filtering to block specific advertisements. Ad blockers assist with online privacy and help to avoid spyware-infected ads. Advanced Encryption Standard, AES, a protocol that is similar to TKIP. AES is more secure and is used with the WPA2 wireless encryption standard. Term Advanced RISC Machine, ARM. Definition: a processor architecture that is based on Reduced Instruction Set Computer, RISC. ARM is the most widely used instruction set architecture. ARM processors are low-cost, have minimal power consumption, and generate lower heat, making them ideal for devices such as smartphones, tablets, laptops, and other embedded systems. Term Advanced Technology Extended, ATX. Definition: a family of motherboards that has dominated desktop computer designs since the late 1990s. An ATX motherboard has the following characteristics: a rear port cluster for I/O ports, expansion slots that run parallel to the short side of the motherboard, and a left side case opening, as viewed from the front of a tower PC. Term Android. Definition: an open-source operating system based on the Linux kernel and used mostly on smartphones and tablet computers. Android is developed by the Open Handset Alliance, a group directed by Google. Term Android Package, APK. Source. Definition: format for applications to run on the Android OS. Term anti-malware software. Definition: software that scans for infections that antivirus software might have missed. Term antivirus software. Definition: software that provides real-time protection against threats from local files, websites, and email. Term Apple File System, APFS. Definition: the Apple File Allocation System designed to work with SSD and flash drives. Term
Application spoofing. Definition: the act of a malicious application imitating a legitimate application and tricking the user into revealing passwords or other sensitive information as they interact with the false app. This process is very similar to a phishing attack.
Term: application virtualization. Definition: allows users to access applications from a different computer than the one where the application is installed.
Term: apt-get. Definition: a Linux command used to install or manage APT, Advanced Packaging Tool, software packages. It is common in Debian-based distributions such as Ubuntu.
Term: authentication. Definition: the process of verifying user identity.
Term: authentication, authorization, and accounting, AAA server. Definition: an AAA server is used to examine and either verify or deny credentials to a user who is attempting to log in to secured networks. Term: automatic document feeder, ADF. Definition: a feature found in printers, photocopiers, and scanners that automatically feeds a single sheet of paper from a stack of paper into the machine. This allows the user to print, scan, or copy without needing to manually feed paper into the machine one sheet at a time. Term: biometrics. Definition: the use of a person's biological information, such as fingerprints, retina scans, or facial recognition, to authenticate a potential user of a secure area. Term: BitLocker. Definition: full disk encryption software by Microsoft that can encrypt the entire disk. After encryption is completed, authentication is required to access the drive. Term: BitLocker to go. Definition: BitLocker functionality that is extended to removable drives. Term: black screen. Definition: the absence of video output during the boot sequence. It can indicate cable or software issues. Term: blue screen of death, BSOD. Definition: an error in which the screen background is blue, or sometimes black, with the error message in white text. Such errors can occur either during startup or after a system is running, and they halt a system by default. Term: Bluetooth. Definition: a short-range wireless network used primarily by mobile devices. Term: bollards. Definition: short wood, metal, or concrete posts installed in sidewalks and driveways to allow pedestrian and bike traffic to pass while keeping larger vehicles away. Term: boot methods. Definition: the methods used to load OS files into RAM. Examples are using HD, a thumb drive, a CD, or a network boot. Term: boot sector virus. Definition: similar to a rootkit virus, in that the virus is embedded deep into the computer. In this case, the virus embeds itself into the initial code of the boot sector on a hard drive. Term: brute force attack. Definition: a method of cracking passwords by calculating and using every possible combination of characters until the correct password is discovered. Term: cable. Definition: broadband internet service that is provided by a cable TV company. Broadband can deliver voice, data, and video at one time. Term: cable modem. Definition: a device that encodes and decodes cable internet network signals. It can be connected to a single computer or to a wired or wireless router. Term: cable stripper. Definition: a tool used to strip a portion of the plastic jacket off a cable to expose the individual wires. Term: cable tester. Definition: a tool that tests each wire in a cable and makes sure each one is wired properly. Term: capacitor swelling. Definition: capacitors are used as part of the voltage step-down circuits that provide power to the processor. From 2002 to 2007, many motherboards were built using faulty capacitors that became swollen and leaked, causing system failure and sometimes physical damage to the motherboard. Term: capture card. Definition: a video capture card is equipped to receive HDTV or higher quality signs via HDMI, DVI, or component. Video capture cards have built-in hardware support for MPEG-4 recording and can be used to capture video for training,
game recording, YouTube, or broadcast purposes. Some video capture devices connect to a USB port. Term: CAT. Definition: a Linux utility command for writing text into files and printing file content. Term: Cat5. Definition: Category 5 TP cable. Supports fast Ethernet, up to 100 megabits, and uses 24-gauge wires. Term: Cat5e. Definition: Category 5e TP cable. Supports gigabit Ethernet, 10, 100, 1000 Mbps.
Thank you for watching. Learn more with UCertify.